Hello and welcome to My Retro Watches. My name's Michael and this video is all about how I clean my watch parts. It's part of the 7025 giveaway series that I'm running, so we'll be using those parts in the video also. What I want to cover really is the products that I use. Everything I use goes into this machine here, which is an ultrasonic machine cleaner. And I've already done a review video of this, so I'll leave a card somewhere up here. You can click on that and you can check that video out if you want to buy this sort of machine. After I've talked about those sort of products, we'll get the parts out, we'll put them under some of them under the microscope and we'll see how dirty they are. Then we'll run them through the cleaning process, we'll put them back on the microscope and hopefully we should see quite a big difference. Now then, before I start talking about the products that I use, I just wanted to say that this is a video that I've agonised over doing for quite some time, to be fair, because the tinkerer like me, everybody has their own method of cleaning, their method gets good results, and I think I might be leaving myself a bit open to criticism here from some people for some of the products that I potentially use. Okay, the professionals, they use elaborate machines, they use quite expensive cleaners, but for people like me who can't afford that sort of stuff for a hobby, we have to make do. Now the bone of contention is the first wash that I do, because I basically use water and detergent. Water, generally speaking, with steel is not a good idea because of it oxidising and rusting, but the way I look at it is, yes, you can wash in water as long as you dry properly and dry very quickly. You don't want to leave parts wet for too long because granted you will get rust. However, cleaning with detergent is a must. You've got to try and use some form of degreaser, I think, as your first wash. Certainly if it's a vintage watch, certainly if it hasn't been serviced for a long time, because the grease and the old oils will have gone hard, there'll be all kinds of dirt inside and you need to loosen that off as best you can. So let's talk about what I do. So I use a little plastic pot like this, and inside the plastic pot I've got a bit of water, and I then use what we use over here in the UK to wash our dishes with, our pots and pans, and it's called Fairy. That's right, it's called Fairy. I know that makes some people laugh. Now then, all I'm going to do is just put a little squirt into the water. Like so. You know, if it's good enough for your pots and pans, it's certainly going to be good enough for watch parts. And I will then put all the components in that solution, put the lid on, put it in the ultrasonic. Now this particular ultrasonic, or machines like this, I think are a godsend, and I think if anyone is trying to service their own watches, you've got to buy one of these. They're fairly inexpensive. I think I paid about 40 UK pounds for this one. It's got a heater, which is really important, and it's got a timer, so I can change the time and I can change the heat settings to what I want. I generally wash everything on about 50 degrees centigrade. I think that's optimum enough. On really stubborn watches I can ramp it up to say 60, something of those ilk. So anyway, that's how I do my first wash. I do use a little basket to put the small parts in, which I'll show you in a close-up a bit later on. And I'd wash it for about 20 minutes, something like that. Now, the important thing is, if you're going to wash in a water solution, is to dry. So when I take the parts out, I give them a good shake, and I will then put them in a little container, or lay them out in a little container like this. And I use, this is called watchmaker's paper. Let me just show you it there. Okay, watchmaker's paper. The reason I use watchmaker's paper, it hasn't got a lot of fibres, so you don't, the components don't pick up fibres. It's a bit like cigarette paper, I think, really. So I'll put 3 or 4 sheets of that in there, take out the parts, line them all out so that nothing is touching, and then put them on top of a heater in my house. So at the moment it's winter in the UK, so I dry everything on the radiator. It'll take about an hour and a half, something like that, to dry them all out nicely. And then once they're dried, I use other products, which is what I'm going to talk about now, because I have a 3 wash cycle. So I use the water to start with, and then the second wash is with the solvent. and I use this stuff which is called Essence of Renata. Now this can be quite expensive. You can use liquid lighter fuel. That's arguably just as good in some respects. Certainly when you're starting out. When I started out, I used liquid lighter fuel actually. Or you could use the what's it called, Perks I think it's called, which is a dry cleaning solution, which I've actually got. I just haven't used this tin up yet to try it. Now because that's quite expensive, I use these little jars. Hopefully you can see that on the camera there. These you can get, they usually have jam in it. If you stay in a nice hotel overnight and come down for breakfast, these are usually there at breakfast. That's where I got mine from. Ate the jam, brought the jar home. But equally you can probably get these in supermarkets all over the world, I would have thought. The joy of them is that they are pretty airtight, so when you seal it, so I can reuse this liquid, I can pour it in there, wash the parts, as long as it's not got too dirty through the washing, I can keep it in there because it's not going to evaporate away because the lid's airtight. So I'd wash with the Essence of Renata. Again, in the machine, on a hot wash. The machine always has to have water in it. That's how an ultrasonic works. And people have asked me before, well, how, what do you do? And so you put it in the jar, you have water in there, the solution in the jar, pop the jar inside there. Don't worry about it, you can keep the lid on, it's not going to blow the lid off or anything like that. Okay, once again, 20-minute cycle. When I come to remove, I'm going to use the same little plastic container and some fresh watchmaker's paper. Probably only going to take 5-10 minutes to dry. It's a solvent base, so it just evaporates very quickly. After that, I have one last wash to do, which is the alcohol. So this is 99.9 IPA. And what this does basically is just the last clean. It also makes the parts quite bright and sparkly. However, there's two parts that you don't want to wash in alcohol, and that is the balance and the pallet floor. And the reason for that is the jewels on both of those parts. They use shellac. Can't say it properly. Here we go again. They use shellac, and shellac can sort of dissolve in alcohol, which is not desirable because then your jewels are going to come loose, and therefore the parts are almost useless at that point. So always remove those. Just wash those. But actually, saying that, the balance, I don't actually wash the balance in water very often. I tend to just put it straight into the Renata and give it a really good wash in the Renata. So they're kind of the products that I use. I'll leave a link to this if I've not already, because I'm doing this on the fly up here, so you can see the review that I've done on the ultrasonic. So the next bit, we'll cut to the microscope and we'll have a look at the parts before they've been cleaned and see what the sort of dirt is on them. Okay, thank you. Okay then, so now we're over onto the microscope and we're looking at the main plate, and in particular this is the jewel right in the centre, and you always find quite a lot of dirt there. I'm just going to try and get my tweezers in. So all of that is all dirt and grime, not desirable. All those little flakes that you can see, trying to get it back into focus again, like here, they're they've been in that watch hampering the movement for some time, put it that way. So we want to wash all that off, all the old oil and grease, like you can see here. In the keyless works especially because they use a grease, so it tends to hang around. So, looking at here, there's a bit more dirt. So we'll kind of make a note of how that looks. Let's turn it over to the other side and have a look again. As you can see, plenty of dirt around, and by the naked eye, or even under a loupe, you're not necessarily going to see this. I found that out that as soon as I bought this microscope, it was a game changer. It really was. What you thought was clean, when you actually put it underneath here, it wasn't. Okay, that is the pivot hole. I'm trying to get my tweezers near it. Where are we? Right, yeah, so this one here is the pivot hole for the balance, so that's where the jewel is underneath the dial shock. So again, that part is quite dirty. Let's choose something like the balance. So if we I just pick up the balance, carefully put it under here, and again, what can we see? You know, at a glance you might think, oh well, that's okay, it's not too bad, but then is it? You know, are there particles in between the coils? Which there quite often are. I can just try to get this in focus again. I can just see some stuff here. All this could hamper the motion of the hairspring. The actual hairspring looks in pretty good condition, to be fair. Sometimes you see a lot of dirt on the pivot, which is, we're just trying to get into the focus there. Or worse, I've seen rust there. This one doesn't look too bad at all. So we'll remove the balance and we'll pick, let's pick the fourth wheel. So again, the fourth wheel, it doesn't look too bad. You have to excuse the plate underneath my microscope. I should have cleaned it in preparation for this video. And again, we're just looking at the staff, seeing how that is. Another thing to do while we're under the microscope is to look at the teeth, make sure they're all there for a start. So again, that part I think is okay. Let's pick something else. Let's try the escape wheel. Okay, so the escape doesn't look too bad again. Sometimes these are dirty on the underside. I think fortunately at the moment we've got quite a reasonably clean movement. We have got the train bridge here. So again, there's a little bit of dirt or rust there. Plenty around there, look, as you can see. So these are all things, I mean, look at it here. This is this, you know, at a glance when I took it apart I thought this was rust, but this is actually just the grease or the oil gone bad, and that will work its way all the way into the movement. Of course, stop it basically. So I think the one last piece I could show you is the let's have a look at the palette. The palette will generally be pretty clean, but it gives you an example of what it looks like under magnification. Not every day you might see one of these under magnification, because these are tiny, and when you come to oil them you need to oil there and over there on that side. Another thing you'd want to be looking at or inspecting on here is certainly that top pivot. So this one here, they are very delicate, and I've often taken them out of movements and it's been missing or it's worn away, which then, you know, deems the palette useless, and it's probably, in fairness, what stopped the movement in the first place. Let's just try one more. Let's just try the third wheel. Try and get that into focus. Oh, I don't know what's going on there. The camera didn't like that. So it doesn't look too bad. This looks like more like tarnish than actual dirt. But it's the main plate. As you can see, it takes the brunt. So it's the main plate. We'll definitely inspect after cleaning and see if we've made anything, any improvements. So I'll now cut the video to the desktop. Okay, so what you can see here is a little basket, little brass basket. These I think about £4 on eBay, and these are ideal for washing all your small components, because believe you me, one, it's safer, you don't lose them, but two, if you didn't use a basket like this, trying to pick up some of the components once they're in the liquid is quite difficult, has to be said. Certainly some of the wheels that don't have anything, so for instance this intermediate wheel, trying to pick that up out of the water, quite difficult. So all I do is I load everything that I think is delicate and put them into this, and then we'll put it into the wash. Have the clutch there, and the cannon pinion, for instance, that goes in. What else have we got that I would want to put into there? The transmission wheel, and I can't get hold of this one myself. There. So I would seal that up, screw it shut, bring in my pot of liquid, which looks great under the camera, and I'm quite literally just going to pop that in, pop everything else in. I've not taken the mainspring apart yet, so that will be done on another wash and another cycle, because they are quite difficult to get out. I don't particularly want to do that on camera. So as you can see, I'm just going to put all the parts in there. We're going to put it in the wash. Once it's washed and I've done all the different cycles, then I will reconvene the video under the microscope and we'll examine the parts again. Right, here we are back on the microscope. I've spent a couple of hours or so cleaning the components, and now we can put them on the microscope at ×20, incidentally, magnification, to have a look at the end result from cleaning. So we're going to start off with the main plate again, and what you can see is the center jewel there, and already that looks considerably better. You might question, well, you know, what is this here? Now that isn't dirt. I can go to ×40, but it doesn't look very good on the camera. We lose a bit of focus. However, that is just the jewel itself, possibly from where dirt may have been on it for some time and ground into it, I don't know. Similarly with this jewel hole over here, I've had a very good look at that one already, because I thought, well, that doesn't look good. However, all those little white marks that you can see are part of the jewel. So we'll just roll it around. Now you might ask, well, why have you left the die shock in? Most people I know take the die shocks out to wash. I actually wash them separately, so I keep them in all the way through these 3 cycles, and then when I actually start building the movement, I remove the die shock, I wash it again in Renata, and then oil the die shock and put it back into its position. Hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate that on the rebuild video. But I just, that way it's getting lots and lots of cleaning, and I sort of do it as I'm going along. These things are a bit of a pain, so I always think better left alone for the time being. They're so small, I don't want to wash it with all the other components and lose anything, you know. So we are looking around the rest of this side of the movement. I think we've seen everything there. I'll just turn it over. Incidentally, I am wearing finger cots, so I'm not touching this with my own fingers. And we're seeing this side for the first time. I've not seen this size at all. Just making sure that that is a scratch and not a hair, because sometimes that's what happens. See, that is a hair. You notice that? Let's get it back into focus. So even though it's been cleaned, it's been out of the box just for a few minutes. I'm probably thinking that that's one as well. It is indeed. So I need to try and Just get that like so. Definitely another one there. Just losing some focus there, aren't we? But we can certainly say that it's a considerable improvement. We'll just put on the let's put on the balance again. I don't want to make this video too long if I can help it. So here's the balance, and if you remember, we had little bits and pieces within the coil, bits of dirt and things, and to be honest that doesn't look too bad. Of course the jewel is important too, and I haven't got it in its jewel, that's why it's wobbling so much. You know, it's making my eyes go funny watching that. Okay, that looks not too bad. So let's just try one last thing, which we'll put on the train wheel guard, because all of these are prone. So where we're looking at now, not that, no, let's, where are we? Here. So this had all the dirt and what looked like a bit of rust actually. Just in that position, we have a few more jewels. That one's not looking too clever. And we can see a hair. Probably one of mine. That's just fallen out. But there we go. Okay, I won't bore you anymore. That is the parts cleaned and washed. So the next part of the video is going to be the rebuild of this 7025. I hope you enjoyed watching this particular one. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and like the video. And if you want to see more, of course, subscribe. So I'll catch you in the 7025 rebuild, which I'm going to be doing in the next 1 to 2 days. Thank you.